Well, hi. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm Debbie Rubenstein. I'm with the Living Archives Project, and it is December 19th, 2022.
Yes, it is.
And it is indeed. And the COVID metrics for this week are an average of 252 cases were reported in Charlotte-Mecklenburg County. That is a 17% increase over the last 2 weeks. And both subject and interviewer are comfortable not wearing masks. So thank you very much for joining me. This is really great. I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to talk to you too.
Introduce yourself, describe yourself for us.
My name is Seedy Njie. I am from the Gambia, West Africa. Moved to the US to pursue further my education. So I did my undergrad here, and now I'm finishing up my master's degree at Queen's. I am a Black African, 6'5", dark skin. Used to be skinnier, but I'm still there. So I don't know. But yes, that's how I will describe myself.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, and I wear glasses currently.
Currently, is that something you're hoping to change?
I'm hoping to change.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the glasses. Yeah.
Was it more difficult with the mask? Did that difference?
Very, very difficult because it always fogs, and then you have to take it off and wipe it off, and it's always something, especially if you're doing a physical activity.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So, can you tell me a little bit about where you were? Just talk me through a timeline. Where were you when the pandemic started?
I was on campus, I believe, when I first realized.
The campus of Queen's University.
Yes, I was first at the campus of Queen's University, where I just started my graduate school, doing my master's. And this was the first semester. And when the pandemic really became a thing in 2020, I was on campus. I think I can remember when I realized that, okay, we will be going home. I was walking on campus with the then chaplain, Joey. And I was like, I think we might be going away. There might be a lockup for school and stuff like that. I'm like, that's what's about to happen. But even then, I didn't know what to expect.
Had you come to Charlotte for the program, or were you already in Charlotte?
I was already in Charlotte. Yes, I was already in Charlotte. I did, because I did my undergrad here. Mm-hmm. I transferred from CPCC, the community college here, Central Piedmont, and then did my 2 years, transferred to Queen's for undergrad, did undergrad, and then now I'm doing my graduate school, which I am graduating. And today is actually my last day.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
Wonderful. That's really, really exciting. Well, gosh, I'm torn. I kind of want to ask what everybody asks you, which is, and then what? But I don't really want you to have to worry about that on your last day either.
You know what? You're right. It's, especially when you're an international student, and then what is such a loaded question because you kind of don't know in a lot of instances. A lot of people don't know what the next thing is, and then what is. I'm applying for my OPT, which means that I am applying for my work permit, and all of that is in the hands of other people. So that's, again, you don't know.
Yeah, that's right. So you said you were already in Charlotte. What brought you here from the Gambia originally?
Yes, cool. So when I graduated in Gambia, I did some courses, internship, work, all of that. And it was just, I needed something else. I needed something bigger. Mm-hmm. And the US and Charlotte was a good place because my dad was here. So that's how I was introduced to Charlotte. And so I did my undergrad, and you know the rest.
Had chaplaincy been something you were thinking about even as an undergraduate?
So not at all. And again, just to be clear, I'm not a chaplain.
Sorry.
However, I do work with the chaplain. So I work as a graduate assistant to the Religious and Spiritual Life Department, which is the Bell Chapel I worked for Bell Chapel under my chaplain. So because we work so closely, I'm always with him. I guess sometimes people might assume that that's what I'm going for. But no, it is not something that I'm going for. But religious plurality and interfaith work is something that I'm passionate about, that I really care about. And that's why I got into this field.
So what is your graduate degree in?
It's master's in talent and organizational development. And and what I want to do with that is to eventually I'm doing it right now in an entry level, kind of in an entry level sense, is diversity, equity, and inclusion work. That is something that I'm passionate about, that I see myself doing, having a lot of impact in, and that's where I want to be in.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so I want to be a change agent.
Yeah, that's really. Do you want to be a change agent here? If you could snap your fingers and do it wherever, or do you have a place that draws you?
I can do it here. I feel like a lot of my experiences that I've had as a young adult and then as an adult has been in the US. So a lot of the learnings I got from here. However, my foundation, almost everything that I am today, a lot of what I am today came from Gambia. So I can see myself in either places. I do want to stay after I graduate to, gain more experience and gain more knowledge, make more connections. Then I do want to go back home and be a change agent there.
So tell me a little bit about what it was like to realize that. Did you know when you were walking with the chaplain and thought school would shut down? Did you also think that you would not be able to see your family? Is that something back in Gambia? And did you see them frequently before?
No, in that moment, no, because I honestly didn't know what's to come, what it means, and what it meant at that time. So I guess every question was running in my head. However, eventually, when everything was shut down and the numbers were getting high, I think I started getting worried a little, because now I'm here, they're there. What if it gets out of control? What happens then? How do I? So all those questions, and then the borders were closed. All of that was plain. But for some reason, I always felt that I was going to be okay. Things were going to be okay. Even when it was getting really, really bad, I always, for some reason, knew that, okay, I know it's bad. It's probably going to get a little worse than this, but I'm going to be okay.
How did you keep in touch with your family before the pandemic?
Before the pandemic, it's WhatsApp calls and messages. So that's how we keep in touch. That's how we still keep in touch.
And did that continue?
Yeah, that continued. Yeah, during the pandemic. So we were always in touch. We were always having those. They were always with me. And of course, I did want to be with them physically, but I couldn't. However, we were communicating quite often.
Did you said your father was here? Was he still here when the pandemic began?
Yes, he was here. So I was here with him when the pandemic happened.
Any other family here?
Extended family, yes, but not direct, like siblings and stuff, no. But I do have like an aunt, an uncle, and stuff like that, but in different states.
So, did your living arrangements change through the pandemic? Did you move in with your father? Did you pot up with people? How did you manage the social side?
Everything remained the same, honestly. Nothing changed. Really, I would say the only thing that changed was how often I was in my room, how often I was indoors. But no, my living arrangements didn't change. I was still with my dad. A few friends of mine who lived right like a minute or two from me, we all basically quarantined together in a way. We will meet and have dinners together in their house, like my friend's place where we'll have dinner and we'll watch shows and TVs and watch a bunch of reality shows. But that's nothing really changed in that sense. It's just that the amount of time we were together. That's what I guess what was changed in a good way. What was more
time together.
More time together.
Yeah, and you still enjoyed one another's company.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Good. And were you able to take classes all through the pandemic?
Yes. There was a point where.
Do you teach as well as a graduate student?
No, I did not teach, but I do workshops or trainings and stuff like that. I was doing it through my graduate assistantship with the chapel. I could take classes, and I did take classes. They were online, which was great. However, there was a time where the administration was seeking to have all international students go back to school, and that was in the peak of the pandemic, so it was not going to happen. No school was going to do that. Or you leave, because if you're not in person as an international student, then you're violating your your F1 visa, yeah. So that was something that was a little scary at some point during the pandemic. It was the last thing anyone needed. Thankfully, it didn't happen.
So the international students, there are a number of international students at Queen's.
Yeah.
Do you all, were you all able to stay in touch and to share concerns, but also solutions with each other?
Yeah, I think with your friends, right? Like friends group, yes. It wasn't like a huge, like the whole international student community, communicating and like a group chat or something like that. It wasn't like that. However, we did have our friends. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends are international students, but some aren't. So we did keep in contact. We did, help each other out when needed. We did look out for each other a lot. Mm-hmm. So because we are family, we really are, because that's who you see, And
do you feel like you had that sense of family even before the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely.
Being so far from home.
Absolutely. You do form your family, and the pandemic definitely it emphasized that even more. So yes, before the pandemic, we were really good friends. And during the pandemic, I think that really helped, because speaking for myself, I was lucky to have that type of relationship, that good, strong relationship with quite a few people. And when the pandemic happened, that really did help me get through it easier than a lot of people had.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel like it was a struggle?
For me, yeah. At times it was a struggle, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't as bad. For some reason, thankfully, I was in a space where I was good. Mm-hmm. My closest friends were literally 2-minute drive away from me. Yeah. I could walk to their place if I wanted to. And we all had our own spaces. We liked each other. That's why we were always around each other prior to the pandemic and during the pandemic too. So it really did make our friendships, our bonds stronger. So thankfully for me, I had that. There were people, of course, who did not have that. So it was a lot more difficult for them. Mm-hmm. And especially distance-wise, people moved, people went back. Like, there were a lot of shifts. However, those shifts did not happen for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm very grateful for that, because I know there were a lot of people who did not have that.
Yeah. How was it? Did you observe that it was different for your family back in Gambia? Or was their experience of the pandemic similar?
It was a little different. It wasn't as bad as it was here. And even though they were taking it seriously and there were more precautions and all of that, it was still not as bad. So to them, they were being careful. However, their lives still went on. Their lives did move. They were doing going by their regular days. However, they were shifts. Of course, there was a point where it was getting bad and people were getting worried. I was getting worried.
Yeah.
But it was short-lived, thankfully.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask, is there anything from your hand map that you want to share about yourself, about your feelings?
I would say two things. When I was going back and when we were doing the exercise, I wrote down George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, politics. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge part of my life during the pandemic. In a way, it always was, because I was already involved in these things. I was already involved in social justice and community engagement. Like I was involved in a lot of these things. However, during the pandemic, because it was a pause, it was a time for me to really understand why I was doing things, why I was fighting for things, why I was supporting things, I was championing things. And during that period, it really did strengthen my beliefs in human rights, people's human rights, and social justice, and people's belief in people's freedoms. And it also pushed me to see the difference in people too. That's just saying, oh, we're all the same, we're all one. But no, there are differences that we need to acknowledge, and because they are real. And it did make me open my eyes to see those differences, but appreciate those differences and see how we can connect and, create a better union, I guess.
Can you tell me more about that? About the differences you see in people and ways you learn to connect?
I would say for example, with me being a Black man from Africa and an African American from the US, you look at us, we're the same. Like a lot of people will see the same, oh, that's a Black guy. However, there are different lived experiences. And those lived experiences do matter to the people. It matters to me. It matters to them as well. However, they are my brothers and sisters, There are a lot of things we have in common. So the same can be said to, a similar thing can be said to, let's say, a white guy or an Indian guy, where you see them, there's a man, I'm a man, those are similarities. However, most of the time when you look at the physical, we're clearly different in how he's white, he's brown, I'm Black. And you see those differences. And ignoring those differences, I feel like is what also sometimes creates, I want to say, not conflict, but sometimes it does create challenges, because those differences are also part of their reality, are part of who they are. So if you're not seeing that, it's almost like you're ignoring that a very important aspect of them. If you're not seeing that this person is of a different religion, and it does matter that they are of different religion and you are something else, but how do we engage within that? So just those things that I've learned, I picked up a lot of those, and it has been very beneficial in me moving forward in my education journey, and especially being in DEI. It has been very, very impactful there.
So does that mean, do you feel like you brought some of those lessons out of we're still in the pandemic to a degree, but we're not locked down in the same way. So do you feel like you brought some of those lessons into your life now? And what's an example of something that might be different now because of that?
Yeah, so I would say those lessons are definitely very involved in my life, almost on a daily, because I'm working with people from in my job here as a graduate assistant, students from different religions, some or different worldviews, and I have to practice that. I have to practice how to engage those students and also draw students in who don't believe in any religion or any spirituality, and that's okay too because it is their choice. So yes, I am seeing it every day and I'm living it every day. And when I was working with a company doing DEI work as an intern slash coordinator, this was something that was also very present in the work that we were doing. Mm-hmm. It's all about those differences. How can you bring them all in and create understanding and love and encouragement and, just for all of us to move forward in more positive ways. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it has been very present in my life.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about George Floyd. You said you were and the Black Lives Matter movement. You were involved in that movement before the pandemic as well?
Yeah, I wasn't involved in Black Lives Movement, like the organization. However, like a lot of the policies, a lot of the issues that they were addressing and they were championing were something that I was also passionate about and believed in. And that when this happened, when George Floyd's murder happened, and everyone stopped to really look at it for what it was, it forced me to do even more, like a better homework, not just say it, not just believe it, but also act on it too as well.
And what did that acting on it look like for you?
Yeah, so acting on it meant what events we create on campus for our students, what events and what workshops or trainings we do for alumni during that time, what protests we went out to, what did we do out there, who did we donate to. So in all those little ways, that's what it meant.
Did you, in going to protest, did you feel any tension between fear of the pandemic and a desire to be a part of the protest?
Absolutely. It was, especially at that time, it was very present. Mm-hmm. And everyone had their masks. And everyone, we all, or a lot, most of the people that I saw, everyone I was around, everyone was taking it seriously. The fear was there. However, there was even a greater fear, more than the pandemic. And this was a global pandemic, but in a way, there's this fear of losing our humanity was greater than any pandemic.
Now, I know that you and I met at MECMIN.
Yes.
Which is the interfaith organization here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
But I honestly, time-wise, I can't really remember. I know that was the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were outside with masks on. But how did you get involved with that, and how, and did that relationship endure?
Yes. So yeah, Joey introduced me to MECMIN. I checked out the position and what being a board member meant, and it was something that I felt that I could do, and I was interested in. So I went in, and it was a great experience because I did work with everyone, like different worldviews. It was a great organization trying to bring different religious communities in the Mecklenburg area together to work together and create interfaith work, do more interfaith work, and more harmony within us. And around that time, it was around the time of the pandemic as well, when it was, when the numbers were going down, but it was still very, very present. And it was something that was very impactful to be around different voices at that time and help create some help create some of the ideas and some of the, not just ideas, but some of the beliefs that, I guess, create some of the love that everyone wanted for our community, to create something for our community. And it was really a good experience.
I'm really interested, as someone who specializes in organizational development, talent development, but also has an interest in interfaith work and social justice work. Did your experience, whether it was at McMinn and the diverse people you met there, or your work in social justice, did any of that change your definition of what faith work looked like, or what social justice work looked like?
I don't know if it changed it, and I think perhaps it did, but I think it more so amplified how I believe work like that should be, meaning actual work. What is it doing for those communities beyond that 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 5 hours, or 5 months that you're there? It has to be, whatever you create, it should be something that will be ongoing, that will impact different generations, that will impact different people. And that is like, as when you plant a seed and then it keeps growing, and then until it starts, creating fruit. And then sometimes it goes even bigger, and then there's more fruit. And then that's the type of work that social justice work, interfaith work, and all of these work should be. But what does it look like? So starting to really think about all aspects of it, all aspects of what we're about to do, and who does it impact, who will champion it, who do we want to champion it, how will it impact them, how will it impact us, how would people see it, and how do we go about it if we do want to create that change that we are talking about. Why do we want to see it, and who does it really impact at the end of the day? So all those questions and more you need to answer, you need to work through before just going somewhere to build something or gift someone something.
Right. So totally understand that. Is there anything else that you experienced during a pandemic that you really want to be sure to share? Experience you had, or a thing you learned, or a struggle you ever helped with or experienced?
Not on the top of my head, but I would say the pandemic did bring in, for me, it did reset. It was like a reset. It's like the person you are after the pandemic. And really, is the person I am after the pandemic, I feel like it's more connected, more grounded, and more alert than the person before the pandemic. And I don't know exactly how. I mean, I can go back and, pinpoint things that made it that way. But I do think that it really brought about a much needed change, like grounding and just reset and belief in myself and my community.
When you say my community, who Who do you imagine in that phrase?
Yeah. Immediate community will be friends and family. And then we'll go into my Queens community. And also my Charlotte community. And just the different identities that I touch. Mm-hmm. All of those identities are part of my community, whether they're impacting me directly, whether I am seeing them or around them, or affecting me mm-hmm. directly, even if it's indirectly, they're part of my community. So Charlotte is my community. The human race is my community. And the planet is my community. So it's always growing. So I will say in this community, there are different branches, mm-hmm. and all of those things ties into that one big community. And you can't leave one out of the conversation or leave one out of the other. They're all, in a way, they end up being the same thing.
Yeah. Did you work with the Faith in the Vaccine group?
I did not work with them. I was here when it was created and when they were doing it.
It was with the chaplains,
yeah.
with McMinn, so I just didn't know how you intersected.
So Luca, the students that were doing it, they're part of our students who are in our interfaith work and Davies Fellows, and yes, I know the students, but no, I was not directly involved in it. No, that was all them. They did them.
How did it? I mean, were you part of? Can you speak to how it came about?
Honestly, I cannot.
That's fine.
No,
I can ask Luca. I just it's such an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Are those conversations? Did you have conversations about the vaccine with people you loved in one way or another? I mean, I'm not asking you. You have no obligation, obviously, to tell us anything about your own health mm-hmm. status or history. But I just didn't know. Are those conversations that came up in your community? Whichever slice you'd like to make.
Oh, absolutely, it did. Especially, it really was a big conversation, and a lot of people were for it. A lot of people were not against it. They were just questioning, which is okay too. It's okay to question, and you should question. And for the most part, it was positive. And it was welcomed. However, like I said, there's that question: what are the long-term effects? Did we do the proper research, and all of those things? But for the most part, the conversation did happen, and it was welcomed.
As an immigrant,
mm-hmm.
did you find in those conversations? Did you encounter pieces of history you didn't know about? Did you find yourself having to reach across a space for a different understanding, or was it easy to understand the various perspectives of people who have been here and who had a sense of the history? And I shouldn't be so cagey. What I mean is, I'm making assumptions, but many Black Americans approached the vaccine with a skepticism born of historical knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I am curious as an immigrant whether that history was new to you, whether that history felt familiar in any way. How
Very familiar. I'm from the Gambia, West Africa, and we're colonized by the British. The French were there at some point, Portuguese. We've had that was a very familiar concern, mm-hmm. and that hesitation is still alive and well, and honestly, rightfully so, because the impact is still being felt. So that was one of the main underlining, even when they don't say it, and they can. Some people, those are not the words that they use. The feeling is that the feeling is still very present and alive, yes.
Yeah. What else? Explore from the last 2.5 years. It's been such a busy 2.5 years.
Yeah, it has been a busy.
Do you have the ability to take some time off now that you're graduating?
Um, yes and no. It's a complicated process, the whole visa immigration process. And I'm just hoping to hear back soon about my OPT, which is my work permit.
How did you manage it when you either had, when your visa status was in doubt because of the pandemic, because of Queens shutting down, you're no longer a student, but you're no, you can't go back to the Gambia. How did you manage that?
It was difficult at times because, of course, of the unknown. However, I was always a student, right? I was always a student. It's just that when you're an international student, not all your classes are to be online. It has to be in person,
And
then maybe
that
like
regulation
one.
wasn't shifted for the pandemic.
Um, it wasn't shifted until it later was shifted. But in the beginning, when school said, "Forget about that. Everyone get out of the campus, go home. We'll teach online." And then when that question started arising, and then there was like, okay, where do we go from here? That was scary at points. It was because there was just so much unknown.
Yeah.
And
do you feel more comfortable with uncertainty now, you think?
Oh, 100%. When you're an international student, uncertainty is part of your daily life. Yeah. And when I tell you, I have no idea where I'm going to be next month, what's going to happen to me next month, and I'm okay with it. I'll figure it out. Yeah, you have that resilience that is almost like pre-packed with it, but it's not. You have to. It is a process that you just have to go through.